Shalom, shalom. Welcome everybody to the Israel Brief, brought to you by Lay of the Land, hosted by me, Rolene Marks, where we take a look at those top stories making headlines every Monday to Thursday. So let's begin with news that Otzma Yehudit have called for the arrest of the opposition party leaders, accusing them of treason and sedition. Now, this follows comments made by Gantz, by Lapid, by Moshe Ya'alon, denouncing the proposed changes or reforms to the Supreme Court. As we've said a few times on the show, Israel doesn't have a constitution. We have a declaration of independence that enshrines the rights of minorities and civil liberties, and a Supreme Court that maintains the checks and balances of a democracy. Now, opposition party leaders have expressed their concerns. In fact, Benny Gantz cautioned against civil war in this country. He did not call for civil war. He cautioned that there could be civil war because of these proposed changes. And several days ago, he actually appealed to Prime Minister Netanyahu to ensure that opposition parties are included in any reforming process so that all points of view are heard. Nevertheless, they have been accused of sedition and treason by members of Otzma Yehudit. The chairman of Otzma Yehudit, who is also the National Security Minister, Itamar Ben Gvir, has rejected calls for their arrest. Now, of course, tempers are flaring in Israel, and I just want to reiterate that as news reporters, our job is to bring you the news. And sometimes the news is difficult to hear. Sometimes there is criticism of what's going on in the government, but this is what makes the news, and it is our role as journalists to bring that to you. Meanwhile, President Herzog has weighed in. He has appealed to officials and to citizens for calm, to cool spirits, and to try and maintain peace. The president said that he is aware of everybody's pains, worries, and anxieties, and has said that this is a very sensitive time in Israel at the moment, and just appeals for people to calm their spirits. He also appealed to officials, saying to please be responsible and to show restraint. And while we're talking about judicial reforms, leaders of the protest movement have met with Police Commissioner Kobi Shabtai. This is ahead of planned mass protests across the country on Saturday night. The police commissioner said that he respects and their right to protest must be allowed. However, he has called for respect in maintaining safety and security for the public. This follows calls by Ben Gvir for the police to arrest any of the protesters who are blocking access roads and causing major traffic jams. Tens of thousands of Israelis have been protesting against sweeping judicial reforms. And our final story, I know I wanted to avoid it, seems nobody can avoid it, and that is Prince Harry's memoir spared. Yes, I thought we would be spared Prince Harry, but it turns out not. And why, you may ask? Well, I'll tell you. In Harry's memoirs, Spare, he has documented that during his time in Afghanistan, he killed 25 Taliban. Now, just to be clear, he didn't boast about this. He has included it in the text, but it has brokered widespread concern and debate around the world. First of all, there is an unspoken bond between soldiers and respect that they don't talk about these things, that they respect that enemy combatants are still human beings. And you might be asking, why is this relevant to Israel? Well, I'm going to tell you that. Not only has Prince Harry, by announcing this number, which has resulted in the Taliban calling for him to be arrested and put on trials for war crimes, but it has effectively put a target on his family's back, the royal family's back, serving British soldiers, members of the British public, as well as the Invictus Games, which of course this year will include Israeli competitors. But also up for discussion is while Harry has said that his intentions were to help soldiers with their mental health, he has forgotten about their physical safety. Now, Colonel Richard Kemp, who led British forces in Afghanistan and is a great friend to Israel, was discussing this very issue on I-24 News, saying, you know, this what he has done is very unfair because British soldiers are not trained to look at enemy combatants as pieces on a chessboard, which is what Harry said they were to him, but to respect the rule of law. And he went on to talk about Israel's purity of arms and strict code of conduct that the IDF maintain. And discussion has been ongoing around here just how the IDF regards enemy combatants, and reiterating that we do everything in our power to ensure that enemy combatants, whether they are held prisoner, are treated humanely and fairly, and that we minimize civilian casualties as much as possible. War is a dangerous and horrible thing, and people do get killed. But what is equally dangerous is making statements without considering the impact on those who your words can affect. So that's it for today's edition of the Israel Brief. Don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online. Dave Kaplan has an article there about proposed reforms to the Supreme Court. It's also up on our Facebook page. While you are there, give us a like, give us a follow, share our content. Our YouTube channel is at the Israel Brief. Let's get those numbers increasing by clicking on the subscribe button, liking and sharing our content, and follow us on Twitter at LayOfTheLand5. I'm Rolene Marks. This is the Israel Brief, and join me again tomorrow for your headlines before we head into the weekend.